Hi, this is Lucia with The Art of Love. I'm a dating and relationship expert specializing in helping you get your ex back. And welcome back, No Contact Army. Have you downloaded the No Contact app Silencio yet? Well, the link is below this video. It's going to help you to stay in no contact, to keep count of how long you've been in no contact. There's a panic button if you start to panic and want to break no contact, and a bunch of other goodies. So make sure you download it. And yes, I know right now it's only for iPhone. The Android users are not very happy with us, but we can only work on one app at a time. So once we get this perfected, we're moving on to the Android. And if you too would like to join the No Contact Army, it's very simple. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button and the bell notification, and you're in. And to read the No Contact Army manual, go to nocontactsecrets.com, where you could download 2 free chapters before purchasing the book. Today, I want to talk about how to get your ex back if you took them for granted. And usually it's guys doing this. Women don't usually take their guys for granted. They do other things. So I'm speaking mainly to the guys. So you've been a bad boy. You took your girlfriend or your wife for granted, and now she kicked you out of her life. And being taken for granted is actually one of the top 3 reasons that women will break up with a guy. They will not put up with that, as you probably found out. I'm going to read an email from a woman who broke up with her boyfriend because he was taking her for granted. And then I will explain what the problem is and how to fix it. Okay, so she says, I started doing no contact in January of 2021. He was not putting in enough effort. I gave up and was ready to move on. I cut all ties of communication with him. I listened to each one of your videos and followed all of your advice. I had a change of heart the second week of May 2020, so about 5 months later. I unblocked him. I remember it was a Sunday. Monday night, he wrote me a long message asking for forgiveness. It turns out both of his parents got COVID in February, and he had to travel during that time out of the country to take care of them. That's when he said he realized he missed me and he wanted me back. So he wasn't ready to take her back when she broke up with him in January. He was still focused on his world and his life. You know, he didn't care about the fact that he had taken her for granted. But then, once his parents got sick, then he started to miss her. She continues, after 3 weeks of him asking me out, we met for lunch and he begged me, crying, to give him another chance. This happened also the second time we went for lunch as well. I told him I had to make sure he was not going to hurt me this time and that I was not willing to waste my time with just anybody. He's changed for the better. He now takes initiative on everything, devotes much more quality time to the relationship, and our communication is much better. He definitely needed a wake-up call. I also needed your advice to stay strong, and because there were many times I wanted to call him. Well, I'm glad you didn't. It was a very tough process, but it was well worth the wait. Okay. So I'm going to refer to this example as I speak here about the issues with men taking their women for granted. See, if he had just paid enough attention to her, he would not have been in that situation. He wouldn't have had to beg. But most guys, they need to learn this lesson the hard way. They need for someone to break up with them because they think that once they have a woman that she's always going to stay there no matter what. And that's just not true. It's not 1950 anymore. So what's the definition of taking someone for granted in a relationship? Because many times my clients will say to me, oh, I think I took her for granted. And then they tell me what they did. And I go, no, that's not taking for granted. So I think guys don't even know what it means. You know, women want to feel special. They want attention, and they want to feel loved, and they want to feel wanted. They want to feel like they're a priority, and they want you to be emotionally available. They want you to behave throughout the relationship the same way you did in the beginning. Now, I know that's impossible because you really went out of your way in the beginning to win her over, but you can't then, once you get her, totally drop the quote-unquote facade, the courtship, and just do nothing. You can't go from 100 to 0 because that's when women get upset. I know you can't stay at 100, maybe tone it down to 75, but not 50 or 20 or 0. So what you did to get her, you do to keep her to a lesser extent. Now, there is an evolutionary psychology reason why women need this. If we think back to our ancestors, the caveman and the cavewoman, the women, they were dependent on the men and on the tribe to live, because they were the ones who were doing the hunting and fishing, and the women were doing the childbearing and collecting the berries. And so if the woman was shunned by the tribe or by her man, she was going to die, because she was not going to be able to take care of herself. She would not survive. She couldn't hunt and she couldn't fish, and most of us still can't. Okay, so that's what it's rooted in. And so therefore, if she lost the attention of the man, then that was akin to not being able to survive. And so obviously women now, they can pay someone else to hunt and fish for them and just go buy it at the grocery store. But it's still there somewhere in the brain, the fear that, oh my God, if I'm not getting attention from this man, then I might die. Now, as for the men, their actions are also rooted in evolutionary psychology. A lot of things are. So the reason that you stop putting in so much effort once you have her, whether she's now your girlfriend or your wife, is because you have a single point focus and you're goal oriented. What does that mean? It means that you focus until you get to your goal, and then once you get it, you're like, okay, I can relax. All right, I got my goal. Now I can move on to the next goal. So having a girlfriend, having a wife is a goal. It may not be the number one goal, but it's a goal. So once someone is your girlfriend or your wife, you think, okay, I don't need to put in as much effort because I already have her. And that's where you make your mistake. Women are not like other goals. They're not like business goals, career goals, financial goals, health goals, where, okay, you reach it and now you just maintain it. They want your attention. They want as much attention later on in the relationship as they did in the beginning. Most women. Some women require a little less attention, but a lot of women require usually a lot of attention. And if you don't give it to them, I'm telling you right now, and you may have already found out, there is going to be a price to pay, because they're either going to break up with you or cheat on you or something. And then you're going to have to contact me, and I'm going to have to help you to try to get her back. So why don't we try to avoid this situation by being aware that it's happening, so that you don't end up having to try to get your ex back when you could have just adjusted your behavior and not lost her in the first place. So the first thing you need to establish is if you took her for granted or not. And sometimes you're not sure. That's where I come in, where I can coach you and figure out whether you did took her for granted or not. And if you did, and she broke up with you, then the first thing you have to do is leave her alone. You got to give her some space, because she's not going to break up with you on Monday, and then just because you come begging with flowers on Wednesday, oh sure, come back into my life. Yeah, that's not happening. And it also shows that you're selfish if you won't give her space. And that means that you are behaving the same way as you were before, because you were selfish in not giving her attention, etc. And now you're still not listening to her, and you're just still thinking of yourself, and you're just trying to get her back because you feel bad. Again, you're not thinking about her. So she's not taking you back anytime soon if you broke up with her because you were taking her for granted. She wants to know that things are going to change. Otherwise, like the girl said in the email, why would she take you back if it's just to go back to the same thing? Maybe you'll change for 2 weeks and then it'll go back to the same thing. So you definitely need to apologize and let her know that you weren't aware that you were doing that it wasn't your intention, and you're going to take a cold, hard look at yourself and work on yourself. And then you're going to leave her alone. And keep in mind that, she still does love you. but she wants you to go back to the person you were before. And this isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to be in steps. You need to warm her up. So you contact her on occasion and you show her through the things you tell her about what you're doing and how you're working on yourself that indeed you are aware of what you did and what your mistakes were and how you're going to change in the future. But don't try to push it to get her back right away just because you feel anxious. If you're working on yourself, then you want to be the best you. You want to present the best you possible. And so you don't want to rush in there and make the same mistakes and then be broken up with again. So after you apologize and tell her that you're going to work on yourself, you're going to give her about 2 weeks, and then you're going to reach out. No, not to get her back, but just to kind of feel her out, just say, hello, how have you been? Been thinking of you, and this is what I've learned about myself in these last 2 weeks, and take care, goodbye. And then give her another 2 weeks and then reach out again. See, so you do it in steps, and you'll have more to say to her about what you're realizing about yourself, about why you're emotionally unavailable, or why you were so focused on your work. Because a lot of guys, most guys, they focus on their work because they think, well, I got to bring in the money. But, if she leaves you because you're so focused on your work that you're never there for her, then who's that money going to be spent on? She's not going to be there. So now you're not even going to want to go to work. You're going to be so depressed that she left you. So I understand for men, work is a priority, yes, but the relationship has to be a very close priority too, because otherwise, once it's gone, your world is going to fall apart. And then you realize you were working all that time, and for what? Now there's no one around. So as you continue to check in with her every few weeks, and your conversations are hopefully getting better, then if you think she's going to say yes, then you ask to meet, okay? And this would actually be good if it happened in that 45 to 60 day period that I talk about in terms of no contact. Obviously, you're here in a limited form of no contact. You're reaching out, but we're going to count the 45 to 60 days from when she broke up with you. And I think that would be a good time to ask her out, depending on how she's been reacting when you've been talking to her. And what she wants to see is that you understand what you did, and you now have a reason as to why you're not going to do it again. Why are you not going to behave that way again? So if you give her enough reasons as to why that won't happen again, and you show her that you understand what the problem was, then there's a very good chance that she'll take you back and you guys can start anew. Okay, so if you took your ex for granted, tell me what you did to take her for granted. And if you were a woman and your ex took you for granted, tell me what they didn't do that caused you to break up with them because they took you for granted. Does that make sense? And in the meantime, if you would like my help personally to get your ex back, to figure out if you took her for granted or whatever, then you can contact me at theartoflove.net. The direct link is below and we'll send you the rates. If this video has been helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. If you're listening to a podcast, please rate and review. And finally, remember that love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.